Before you quit your job to get into real estate, you're going to want to watch this. Today, we're talking with Roger about what it's like to become a realtor. And if you like this real estate content and want to continue seeing more, be sure to hit that subscribe button. So, today we have Roger Grayson, almost realtor. Your license is pending now, right?
That's right. Yep. I made my application with the state of Colorado for my broker's license.
So exciting. So, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, I know that you were a realtor in Washington pre 2008. What made you decide to get your real estate license again in Colorado?
Well, as I was helping you make some videos just like this, and this is a few months ago, and you and I got to talking, and we had a great time doing the videos, and we were talking about me getting back into real estate, and within a few days, I was enrolled in school, and I'm excited about this opportunity because not only do I get to work with you, who I love, and I love working with you, but I also love practicing real estate. It was one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever done. So,
Yeah, and I know that you got out during the crash. A lot of people got out of real estate during the crash, and I know you figured you would never do it again, and you got back into food sales at the time. But why don't you talk a little bit about, how about looking for a job in food sales and then kind of turning the corner and thinking about, how different it would be to be working in real estate again.
yeah, well, as soon as we began talking, I had been looking for a job for a couple of months, and then you and I started talking about it, and I started to remember all of the little things that I loved about real estate, even though it is not an easy job. But there is so much, rewarding things that happen when you're practicing real estate with um, your clients who are looking to make a change in their life, and it's so much more fun than like selling cans of, you know, sliced pineapple. And that's what I used to sell is canned food. And it's fine. It's a good job, but there's a lot more reward in this job.
Yeah, you really
Mhm.
are having significant impact in people's lives, talking with them about, their home and where they're going to be living, and that space is it's so foundational to people's lives where they live. It really is big impact, I think. Talk a little bit about, coming out of food imports, um, which is, a super custom job. And I know you're really good about it. Like you knew stuff about food that like I had no idea about. It was very interesting. It was an interesting job, but times are always changing, and those tariffs that went into effect last year really affected imports quite a bit. Um,
Yeah.
I'd like to hear you talk a little bit about the difference in going from a corporate kind of Monday through Friday 9 to 5 type of job to into the world of real estate, which is very not corporate and
Yeah.
not 9 to 5.
Well, um, yeah, the differences between these two jobs is most of my last job was working from home behind a computer, making phone calls, talking to my client or customers, talking to my team on the inside, my purchasing team and my marketing team, and I did some travel, um, but you end up just working from home a lot, and I do kind of miss getting out when some of my favorite stuff about this, I've been job shadowing you for the last couple of months now, and we're out visiting, new properties, showing properties to clients. We're meeting for inspections. We're meeting our, structural engineers. Like it's a fun job. Every single day is different.
I
And
love that about it. Yeah, because it's like you're doing listing appointments, buyer meetings, showings, inspections, meeting all kinds of people, the structural engineer, the plumber, the HVAC person, all these different people, talking with the lender and always kind of being involved with what's going on with the lender, getting the insurance person involved, and working with title, of course. So it's just like a lot of different people and a lot of different locations, right? Like we've been all over the city and it's just fun. It makes every day different.
Well, I think some of the funnest parts of the job are, you know, getting to plan these things out for your clients, for, helping them do the things that need to be done to get that home under, not just under contract, but closed. And you end up being more like a project manager. And I know we talk about this a lot and how we go out of our way to, or I watch you go out of your way to make sure your clients are taken care of. They're getting everything they, getting all the inspections that they need to get done, that getting all of the people organized and getting them together.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of the job is making it as smooth as possible for the client, right? Like that's one of the big goals is just taking a process that can be like it's full of all these pieces and people and moving parts and complication and it can have some real ups and downs in the journey. All this in, 14 to 30 days, is very like very it's a lot going on. But taking all of that stuff and just really smoothing it out, to make it as smooth as possible for the client, I think is really one of my utmost goals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So going from corporate to real estate, I think another piece of that is this idea of, you can either work in corporate and be working for the man, and you really have a ceiling there, versus when you start building a business and you're working for yourself, you really take that ceiling out and kind of the sky's the limit. It's like it's completely up to you what you're doing or not doing, and how far you can go with it.
Yeah, that is, one of the biggest things that I'm excited about, especially getting to work with you as, uh, my mentor in the business, but you're also my partner, and so it's fun on a couple different levels. But um,
It is like 24/7. It's like 24/7 real estate at our house now. And it was kind of always like that because I'm such a nerd. Like I can't tell you how much real estate Roger had to think about and talk about before when he had his own job.
but I never complained. I like that stuff. I love talking about real estate.
Now it's just kind of all the time. Um, and I think too, another big difference that I think that you'll have is in the clients, right? Like, going from food sales in a corporate environment and having sort of corporate clients, I feel like is very different from the type of clients that we have in real estate. I mean, first of all, a vast majority of our clients are friends,
Mhm.
which is really fun because we get to sort of deepen relationships with people we already know and already are friends with.
I am excited about getting back into the business that I love, but I'm also excited to begin building generational wealth through real estate. I think it's really important that some of our investments need to be not just in the stock market, not just in small businesses, but maybe even personal assets like homes and things like that. So
What has surprised you most so far about the process to getting licensed?
yeah, when I first got licensed in Washington State, I think my course that I took was 40 hours, and the test was maybe 50 questions. And so it's it wasn't easy, but it wasn't super difficult. And it didn't take a long time. It was very quick.
Mhm.
Um, you know,
So comparing that to today, do you remember how many course hours it was that you had to do of real estate
I
classes?
certainly do. Yeah, it was about 168 hours. And then as soon as I finished the course, that's when I really started studying hard for the exam. So the course is mainly to prep you for the exam. And then it was 3 solid days of studying. And the exam now is something like 85 questions for federal side and 79 questions for the Colorado side. So it is a big test. And
It's 2 tests.
yeah, it's not just one test anymore. Like it is state and federal and there's so the fun part, that I cuz there was a lot that I already knew. The fun part was learning about all of this new stuff. Like over the last 3 or 4 years, I think there's been a lot of new real estate laws that have come into effect and might be perfect timing, since I just got licensed with all this new stuff going on.
What else has surprised you about the licensing process?
The surprising part is, which didn't surprise me much, but as soon as you start really working in real estate, everything I learned is more just legal stuff. And then there's a whole world underneath all of that, when you're practicing real estate, you're really living in that world.
You take all these classes to pass the test, and the classes are really geared towards being able to answer all these test questions,
Yeah.
but almost none of that is related to actually doing the job. I saw some joke on TikTok recently about how much contract law realtors had studied. And I guess I had forgotten about that, even though I'm always talking about how I'm great at contracts and negotiations. Um, what did you think about that content? Like, as you were studying, did it seem to be really heavy on legal and law content?
Yeah. And I think a lot of it was focused on some of the new laws that have come into effect over the last couple of years. And a lot of what I was studying and learning was, and this was on the test, the exam, was about the relationships between, the client and the broker.
Well, I think that, I don't know that people necessarily understand that when they're hiring somebody to be their real estate agent, they're signing a contract that is giving that person agency duties over their real estate transaction. And this whole idea about having these agency duties and this agency relationships, I often refer to it as almost like a doctor patient or
Turn
attorney client kind of relationship. And that's exactly what it is once you've hired a real estate broker to become your real estate agent. Now they have fiduciary duties to you, duties of confidentiality and loyalty, and they are on the hook to put the client's interests and goals above all others in the transaction, including our own. And some of that gets into this field of like integrity, even like, so when you're choosing who you want to hire to be your realtor, you want to make sure that you're choosing somebody who has integrity and that you trust to be putting your interests and goals above their own self-interest. What has been the hardest part so far of this journey to becoming licensed?
I think at first it was, balancing that schooling between that, life in general and working. So I was kind of going to school and working as an assistant for you.
Oh yeah, because I
So
hired
so I
you.
was doing some work and also taking classes and, so I was balancing a lot of that. And then I knew we knew that that was a short time period of work that had to be done. And I just stayed motivated. And once I finished my schooling, I think that's when the real work started. Like I passed my exam, I'm applying for my real estate license, and I'm out job shadowing you basically every day, which is fantastic. I'm learning a ton. So
Do you think you're learning more on the job than when you're studying for to pass the exam, or is it like the same level of learning but just like learning such different stuff?
working with you is I am learning way more than I did in school, but the important parts that I learned in school I'm using every day because they're mostly about agency relationships, and the laws surrounding real estate. And what I'm learning from you are completely different, not different, but it's
It's a lot of soft skills, it's a lot of communication, communication skills, and also, that negotiation stuff. A lot of psychology that goes into it, I think.
one thing I think has been the most important thing I'm learning is getting these contracts filled out correctly the first time when you're, putting in a new offer for a buyer. And if you take the time to really fill out that contract well, the other agent's going to notice. And I hear that from the agents we work with when they'll talk with you on the phone or something, and they'll say, "Oh, your offer looks amazing and it's so well written." And I think, that is really important for to get the job done is to really do it right the first time.
Yeah, because I think the job is a lot about relationships and not just with our clients, but with the other agents. Like if we're on the buy side, we're working with the listing agent. If we're the listing agent, we're working with buyer's agents. And we've heard that a couple of times lately from listing agents who have said, I received your offer. Thank you so much. It was written so well. It's so clean. I really appreciate that. And, and I've said this before, like we can tell when we receive an offer that is not well written, you can tell the person doesn't know what they're doing. And you can bet that you're probably going to have to do extra work on this deal because the other person doesn't know what they're doing. So I'm convinced that it makes a huge difference for our clients
Yeah.
in terms of, putting the best foot forward, with the other agent and convincing the other agent that they would love to work with us because we know what we're doing and they know that's going to make it even more smooth. Another part that I think was difficult has been the waiting because man, you went through those classes in no time. I don't know. I mean, it was 168 hours, but you did it all in, I want to say like maybe a month or so.
A little over a month, yeah.
Yeah, and then, I mean, you really went full time on those classes because it's sort of like online at your own pace. Um, but then you got to this stopping point and just had to wait. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I finished my course, got the certificate from my school, and I took the exam, finished that, passed the exams, and then I went on thinking, I got my fingerprints done, my background check done. I think I'm ready to apply. Well, I didn't realize that when you apply to be a broker in another state, they want to know if you were a realtor before. And so I had to call up Washington State Department of Licensing, and they purged their records a long time ago. So apparently I had to fill out a form, send them a check in the mail, and then wait. I think we just got it a few days ago from the state of Washington, and it literally took 2.5 weeks to get my real estate history so that I could apply because the state of Colorado wants to know, were you a realtor before? Um, and were there any problems? And I think that's something they look for when someone's getting a license and, a new broker license in another state. And of course there wasn't, but I have to show them proof and I couldn't apply without it. So we finally got it done.
I'm still laughing about I think this might if you're paying attention, you could use this as a great vetting tool for for partners Because Dora, like anyone who's holding a license, and I don't know if it's different depending on the type of license, but if you heard all of this, Dora is doing a background check. They're taking your fingerprints and checking those. They're looking at any previous license history. And boy, they really check into that before they are willing to hand you a license. And honestly, it's not that terrible of a thing. It's kind of great because, with your real estate license, you now have the ability to access all kinds of people's homes, which I get a kick out of because I'm nosy and I love going into other people's homes for showings. But it's nice to know that not just anybody off the street can go access sellers' homes.
Yeah, it's definitely true. It was surprising and it was a hurry up and wait situation,
Mm.
but we've been working through it and I'm excited to get my license officially.
Well, thanks so much for being on today, Roger, and talking about the journey. I know we're gonna have some more episodes like this where we're kind of talking through, Roger's journey not only to becoming licensed, but what it's like being a new-ish realtor. I know you were a
Mhm.
realtor before, but what it's like building up the business and getting into the job. Because I think a lot of people are interested in what it's like to get into real estate. So I hope that you guys enjoy this and the future episodes that we're going to make following along Roger. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
If you like this content and want to support the channel, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go.